All right. Um, well, let's go ahead and get started and with talking about Stranger Things, just like a few housekeeping items just to be sure that we're all on the same page and that also everyone listening kind of knows who we are and how the session today will go. My name is Bria and I'm with my co-host here, and I'm with my co-host here, Ant. And we run a podcast called the Bingeverse. We do a lot of different TV and movie reviews, and so we're super excited to be talking about Stranger Things today. Um, Now, as far as kind of like housekeeping items, I do want to be very clear that this will be a spoiler discussion. So if you haven't finished Stranger Things, just be aware that we may talk about things that have happened in the second batch or even in the finale. Be aware that that may come up, and then also for if you want to add to the discussion, feel free to use the chat. We're definitely going to be looking for engagement throughout the chat, and then as well as if you do want to come off mute, just go ahead and raise your hand once we get the conversation started, and we'll go ahead and accept you to speak and everything of that nature too. Anything you wanted to add to that? Okay,
You did everything.
perfect. Awesome. So I'll go ahead and pass off to you, and we'll get started with the discussion.
All right. So again, we're talking about Stranger Things. A lot has happened. How do you feel overall about season 4?
Overall, I
Actually, no. Actually, no. How do you feel about part one first? So it's been about a month. They dropped part one end of June, I believe, and then we got the second half on Friday, July 1st. So how do you feel about part one?
yeah. Um, I know a lot of people complain about how it's split into two parts, and I get it. I definitely understand like wanting to sit and binge it all at once. But me personally, I actually really enjoyed the fact that it was split in because it gave a little bit of anticipation for the second batch. The first batch I think was done really well, but the second batch I think was like full emotions, like had me completely enthralled in the season. Um, I was a big fan of this season. I think that it was a great comeback from season three, which was to me very slow, like a little bit hard to get into. But season four, I was a really big fan of. I really enjoyed it.
I didn't even say that. 'Cause I agree. I completely agree. Yeah, I agree with that. I definitely agree. I loved the first part of season one, and I think like two was okay, season two, and then season three kind of lost me. But season four definitely brought me back, especially part one. I was completely back invested, and then I can't lie, the part two kind of let me down. I think they did. It was like I feel like there was a lot of like really cool like special moments, but I think overall I didn't like the final battle. But I did like the ending. But we'll get into all that later. But I say
Yeah.
if I had to give like an overall rating, I'd probably give it an 8, which is so good.
Okay. Yeah. No, I think that's very fair. Season two, I didn't love the outcome, but I think that as far as how it was done, like how it was written, I thought it was very excellent work. So, um, it was great. It was great.
A lot of people were talking about. I saw a lot of comments on social chatter on Twitter. People didn't like it because it was scary. How do you feel about
I agree, actually. I completely agree, and I
that?
100% understand like why people would say that because I started watching part one when I was in Dallas. I was visiting my parents a couple of weeks ago, and I live in LA, so the time change was a little bit off. So I was like, okay, I'll just turn this on and start watching just to catch up on what's going on. And so I would start it at around like 11 o'clock midnight. And I kind of, at some points, I had to just kind of turn it off and be like, okay, I'm gonna come back in the morning. Oh, I feel like a lot of uh, the sacrifices, the deaths from Vecna in the first part, they were pretty like graphic. And I'm you know me, I'm not a big horror or gore person at all in the first place. And I'm also a very big believer in like spirits and that kind of stuff too. So I was like, okay, this probably isn't the best thing for me to be watching right before I go to sleep, but it didn't stop me. It wasn't scary enough that it like stopped me from watching it at all. I just kind of didn't watch it at night when I was about to go to sleep and didn't want to exactly dream about it. So yeah. Did you think it was you like horror and stuff though? Did you think it was
Yeah, so
scary at all?
I loved it.
Yeah.
Once when he did that first kill and they did the whole bones cracking, I was like, oh, we
Yeah.
getting serious. I was like, oh, we getting real
So much.
serious. I'm here for this.
It was so much. But no, it was still very, very good. So big fan.
Yeah, so I loved all that. Like I liked his character design. He was ugly. Um, I see why it costs like 30 million an episode or however much
Yeah.
they said because I kept looking at how like they just kept having like the I don't know if they're supposed to be muscles or supposed to be like whatever that was supposed to be. Like they kept moving
Oh,
around them.
yeah.
I'm like, yeah, that's a lot of special effects money. But I like it was a cool effect. So
Yeah, no, they definitely did the visuals very, very well. And also not to mention like the Kate Bush song that's been stuck in everyone's head. Um,
that's
every
a
every single
hit.
episode they played that song, and it has been like stuck in my head ever since I even started the series. So that was excellent
I had
placement
to
for that song, and they did a good job of reinforcing it. So
go download it. Had to give some extra streams. That's only the hit.
yeah, exactly.
All right. So, like you said in your review, a lot of this season seemed to be like a lot of heavy focus on relationship, and so we had a lot of different relationships. We had Mike and Eleven, Mike and Will. That was a large topic on Twitter. I also saw was that relationship. Lucas and Max, Destin and Eddie, Jim and Joyce, and then Steve and Jonathan, Steve or Jonathan and Nancy. So,
Yeah, that was a
Alfred, where
lot
do you want to
going on.
start?
How about we just start with the first one and go down the list? And also in the chat, if you have any comments on any of the like relationships in the season that you were a fan of, go ahead and add those to the chat too. And then once we finish kind of sharing our thoughts, we'll start accepting. I see a couple people with hands raised, so we'll start accepting a few people if they wanted to share anything in particular too.
Well, no, that. I think my app is froze, so I can't see like any of that. So just let me know when you're about
Okay,
to accept somebody, so I don't
we'll do.
force something. Okay, so actually we can talk about Mike and Eleven and Michael Wilkes. That kind of goes together.
Yeah.
Um, so we have Mike and Eleven. Obviously, they've been a thing since kind of like their first meeting in season one, and they kind of come back together in the first. It's like the first two episodes, kind of like them coming back together and like not seeing each other for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so then that goes into Michael Will because then once 11 comes back around, Mike just completely disregards Will, and that was heartbreaking. I was like, man, you think about it
Yeah.
like this?
I
Um,
I don't
just
know. I feel
disregarding
like Will
everything
is one
that
of
man
those
had to say.
characters. Will is one of those characters that like you can't help but like feel bad for. The poor guy, like he just can't catch a break. Like during the
Truly,
first couple seasons, he was his body was encapsulated by this demon essentially, and like he's been trying to navigate that and like navigate school and the fact that like he's not one of the popular kids either, and then now like his whole family had to kind of like move away and manage all of that too. So you can't help but like really feel bad for him. And it's like
literally,
it's kind of sad, but I don't know, even with Mike and 11, I thought it was really interesting how they had kind of worked in the fact that 11 really wanted Mike to see that she was doing well, even though she was not doing well at her new school. Like wasn't fitting in, was actually like being bullied very often. um but I think it was one of my favorite connections, I think, as far as relationships go, because it I think it just really for me it was just the fact that 11 has all these powers and all of you know she's a superhero essentially and can do all these different things. But I think that it's really cool that they wrote Mike in to kind of balance her out, or not wrote him in, but kind of like wrote the relationship to where he balances her out, and they're able to kind of like balance each other out, because that's like a heavy weight to carry type of thing. I also thought it was really interesting at the end when they thought that 11 wasn't gonna make it, as she like traveled into the dark side too. But it always has just been a little bit difficult for me to um take it was a little bit hard for me to take that scene seriously, because he was like saying all these things and I was just kind of like, you're like 13. That was like a little bit of a difficult part for me to like look past. And he's like, oh, like I'm gonna like need you forever, like all these things, and like for them to be in,
Women was sweet.
yeah, they were in like junior high school. So that part was just like a little funny to me. But when you're that age, you think that everything that's going on is gonna last forever. So that was definitely funny for me.
That was real passion.
Yeah.
Real bars in there.
For sure,
I might have
for
to steal.
sure.
I might have to steal some of those lines from my future wedding vows.
I'm
Can't,
weak.
can't cap. But and then we had that's very powerful scene between Michael Will and the car, that turned into a meme.
Which meme? I don't think I saw this.
Of Will crying.
No, I muted everything Stranger Things until, because I just finished the last season a couple of days ago. So or on Sunday. So I muted all of Stranger Things, everything, so that I didn't get any spoilers on my TL.
It's in the first half. It's the scene when they're in the backseat of the car with Jonathan. I think his name is Will's brother,
Mm-hmm.
and pretty much and they made a big deal about it since it was Pride Month, and they wanted them just kind of come out and say like Will's sexuality,
Mm-hmm.
because it's obvious that Will has feelings for Mike, and so but it was still kind of Mike kind of just being like, yeah, I don't really care what you have to say. I like 11, or just kind of like just disregarding whatever he had to say, like anything about him.
Oh, okay.
And so then he kind of, I think that was the part where he had like a letter, and then he ended up saying it was from 11, but it was really him. And then like his brother was in the front seat, saw how it happened, and like console him after and everything like that. But he
Yeah.
was crying. I felt real bad. I was like, man.
Yeah.
Again,
Like I
he just
said,
can't.
the
They can't.
kid,
He
he
can't get a
really
break in
can't
any
catch a
way.
break. I I had heard like a lot of the conversation about like Will's character and his sexuality, and if they should just like be upfront with it. And I think that Netflix probably has its like reasons. I personally like would love if they did, but I'm sure like they have their reasons, and maybe it's something that they'll develop in future seasons too. But yeah, that was, I don't know. You can't help but feel bad for him. Like I do feel really bad for him, because like nothing is really like working out, and then even at the end, when they've gone through all of this stuff, everyone's like, cool, we made it. And then poor Will again, like he's just like, nope, I can feel it, like something's not right. So um he just, he doesn't get many moments of peace throughout throughout the series, or this season particularly too.
All right, and then we have Lucas and Max. Um, Heartbreaking end. The end of that was sad.
That um I don't know. I think that I personally, Max is one of my favorite characters, because I think that she like reminds me of myself as a kid. Personally, like I was definitely more of a tomboy. I was like into sports. I wasn't really into like um you know shopping or like makeup or dolls and things like that. And so I think that like personally, she kind of I connect with her as a character. Um just because like that's how I was when I was younger too. And I think it's really cool, first off, throughout the series, how they worked in her and Eleven's relationship, so that she can kind of like start exploring, for lack of a better word, a little bit like of a softer side, because you can tell that she's very closed off, or especially starting out in the series, she was extremely closed off, and like didn't really want to connect with anyone or let anyone in. um so in the last episode, when they did that like kind of flashback of all of Max and Eleven's like interactions and all of that, that's when I started like I was like, okay, I'm like about to cry, first of all. That was like a very emotional scene for me personally, just because it was very hard to like watch the fact that like, you know, she opened up, she got closer, like they're best friends, and now you know, it wasn't gonna be, or we it wasn't looking like a very happy ending um for Max, and so that was very tough to watch. Um and then in that same regard, even with Lucas and how she like opened up and was just like very coy. Obviously she cared about Lucas still. You know, they had kind of drifted apart because he didn't he wasn't really acting the same because he was, you know, wanting to be one of the popular kids and on, you know, or an athlete and things like that. But even the fact that like she let him in and he was just like obviously crushed, that was a very hard scene to watch as well.
You just cleared that. Goodness. I agree with all that. So I can go to the next section. The next person, Dustin and Eddie. I like them. It was a fun little duo. We had Eddie. He was kind of like the older, super senior, and then you got Dustin, and then he's going through his thing with his friends. They sort of moved away. He's trying to find his own way. And then at the beginning of the time, Lucas was he hit that game winner, so he was kind of like joining the popular kids, kind of almost. So then Dustin was still with that kind of like the Dungeons and Dragons type of people. So he joined the Hellfire Club, which I saw they had those shirts on sale, and I low key might get one. Um,
Apparently,
um,
I was doing some research before the episode, but just like a very quick side note. Apparently, that was a nod to I can't remember. I think it was X-Men. I can't remember, but they had a lot of Easter eggs throughout Stranger Things. So for people listening, or even if you haven't yet, like there's a lot of articles about like all the different Easter eggs they put throughout this season, just like 80s references and things. That was pretty cool to read too. So
well, I'm gonna have to watch a
yeah,
YouTube video on that tonight.
there's a lot of cool ones.
But so we have Eddie, and then like he goes, Mr. Jason Carter, one of the worst, most annoying characters in TV currently. Um, Obviously, it was his girlfriend that was the first person that got killed, and so he tries to blame Eddie because she got caught, or it happened while she was trying to get drugs from Eddie. Obviously, they blamed him, and they go on this whole manhunt chase for him, and so he just starts running, and he talks about kind of how he never sees himself as a hero, and kind of seeing them two kind of go through the series, having each other's backs, and it's kind of like having that kind of like brotherhood type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like somebody that for like Dustin like relate to and like look up to, and then kind of seeing Eddie evolve, and then to his last final moments, and he has that epic guitar solo,
Yeah,
um, save the day, and then the moment where he instead of going back through the upside down with Dustin, he stays down, he tries to fight, and he ends up dying. And they had that moment where he says he finally graduated.
that that was another one. I think that was the one where I like. If I had to rank what we talked about so far as sad seasons, I would probably say the Max and 11 one, and then this one. Like I was like really worked up about it. I don't know, because it was like he had that scene with him a little bit earlier in the episode 2 where he was like, yeah, I just think I'm a little bit jealous of how Dustin like looks up to you, to the other guy. And I think that they had like really built out a relationship throughout that whole season where it's like that was his like stand-in older brother. And for him to like die in Dustin's arms like that was like extremely hard to watch. Like it's crazy because we started off like, oh, it was so good, it was done so well, and then like all these things that were so difficult to watch, but I think that that's really such a big part of it, on how well it was done. But yeah.
Rest in peace, my man, Eddie. We'll have a moment of silence for him later. Then we move on to my personal favorite. This is my favorite storyline as well. Jim and Joyce. Not to
Yeah,
be specific to why, I just liked them. There was no powers, no extra stuff. It was just a man in Russia and a woman trying to get some pure love.
yeah. The first off, uh, the uh, the just a kudos to him for how much weight he had to lose for this season. First off, when they showed him at the end, like as you know how much weight he lost, like I'm always very intrigued and impressed at the fact that actors and actresses have to do that, like for these roles. Um, and yeah, he definitely did that, for sure. So that's always just been very interesting to me. But I really liked that storyline as well. Um, that one was one of the ones where I feel like I had to pay super close attention to because the plan just kept like going in a lot of different directions. They're like, okay, we're gonna do this and then that, but then something would go wrong. They'd have to like completely reroute. And if you look down, you like miss, okay, like why are they doing this part now? So um I really enjoyed that storyline too. Um, Joyce is a real one for being able to put the pieces together as far as that letter that she got because I would have looked at that and been like, oh, this is just some prank mail. Like, I don't know what this is. But no, she's definitely a real one for flying all the way there to save her man. So that was definitely pretty cool to watch. And then them reuniting was obviously like extremely happy or extremely exciting to see too, because there were a couple points where I'm like, okay, now how are they gonna make it out of this alive? like, like, but I do want to point out that, and I know that I mentioned this in a prior episode that we done, I think it was last year. I really didn't like the fact that Netflix had kind of spoiled that Jim was still alive in the trailer for season 4. Like
Yeah.
that was something that had really actually irritated me because it was such a crazy cliffhanger at the end of season 3 that like everything exploded. We were just like, he's gone. Like there were obviously a couple people who were like, no, he could still be alive, but like for the most part, everyone was just kind of like, okay, if he is still alive, it's gonna be a miracle type of thing, but you know, maybe they could write it in. And then when they released the trailer for season 4, he's in the trailer. So it's like, okay. It's like obviously we're still gonna watch because it's such a good show, but it was like it really took away some of the like anticipation and just like some of the grab factor of you know, is he still alive, is he not, like some of the mystery behind season 4. Now we kind of knew to go into it saying, okay, he's alive, like what's his storyline gonna be, instead of really wondering or some like big reveal or something like that that I think could have been really impactful. So
And then
before we
last,
go, oh sorry, was there another relationship you wanted to go through?
are you Team John or Team Steve and Nancy?
Um, okay, hold on. I'm gonna hold on just one second. Um, and I'm Googling because I can't not remember which one is which right now. So
Steve
give
is
me
the
just a
one
second.
with the flashy hair that is he worked at the video store.
Which one was the one who they were supposed to be going
And
to
his little
college
brother.
together? The one that she
Mm.
was in a relationship with.
Yeah, Jonathan.
Okay, then I'm Team Steve. Yeah, I don't want them. I don't want Jonathan together. I don't. Yeah, I'm definitely Team Steve. I definitely liked how their relationship developed throughout, and then I I just didn't appreciate how low effort Jonathan was, how like nonchalant he was about things. That was just kind of like, no, go, you can do better. So yeah, I'm Team Steve.
I'm also Team Steve, so nothing to argue about there.
Okay, before we keep going, I'll go ahead and accept a few requests to speak. So I'll start with Kelsey, and then I'll move on to Alyssa. I'll accept you. Okay, I pressed accept, but her hand just went down, so she might have it might have been an accidental hand raise, so then I'll go ahead and accept Alyssa now. Okay. It might be something with the app. So I just pressed accept and now neither of them are showing up in speakers. So um if either of you are listening, go ahead and re-raise your hand and I'll accept you if you wanted to say something. Apologies for the technical difficulty there, but if you want to try again, I'll accept you in just a second. And then just let us know. And then yeah, we can maybe keep going until we get there too.
All right. So we touched on it a little bit. So you said your favorite storyline also was kind of Jim in Russia, and then Joyce and Murray.
Mhm.
Did you like how they kind of split it up into the multiple storylines, or do you like stories like when they do story shows like that, or did they just too
I
much?
am so glad you brought that up because no, I did not like how I don't know. I don't, and I have kind of mixed feelings about it because it felt like there were kind of three different working parts at every time or at every point in the show. So there was, Joyce and Hop, which I think that was like a very solid storyline. But then there was um like Dustin and friends and like his crew trying to like fight Vecna, but then there was like Mike and Will, and then they like came together at one point and they split back up, and then it was just kind of like, okay, this is a lot to like follow along with, but I also did kind of appreciate it because it helped to keep it organized. Like I think that if it was Joyce and Hop's storyline versus like all the kids and like all of them, I think that it's just way too many characters to keep straight. So I have very mixed feelings about it. It would have been cool to see everyone operating kind of together, but I also can appreciate it because it was just probably a little bit easier to keep the storyline straight and keep all the characters. No, it was like it was an extra storyline that, dividing the group kind of allowed for. So I can appreciate it, even though I didn't love it.
I kind of liked it. I did think it was kind of like busy at times because there was just so much happening, and there were so many characters. That's why there's so much to talk about. You have
Hmm.
about 15 different relationships being, evolving at the same time, and then you have the four different kind of goals and tasks being sought after. You have like Mike and them looking for 11. 11 is with Papa, and she's looking for answers and how to get her powers back. Again, Jim in Russia, and then you have like Lucas, Max, Lucas, Max, Steve, and Nancy. Kind of wandering about in the Upside Down. So it was a lot going on, but I still ended up liking the story. It all made sense at the end. I really didn't see how they were about to make Howard being in Russia be relevant, but they did, and I was just like, this is a random, very random storyline,
Yeah.
but I like it. And then it tied in later, and I was like, I think even how they tied it in, it's been like, oh, like just so it happened they had to be in Russia to, have this other kind of connection to it. I was like, I guess.
Yeah. Was
um,
I think that it was like was the original what am I trying to say? The people who were doing the experiment were Russian though, too, right? Yeah, okay. So yeah, I'm glad they like kept that straight and it wasn't at least like some random other country that they had to fly to, but no, I see that too.
it's just the fact that he had to go all the way, like, yeah, they were Russian, but then on all the way to Russia, like that just seems like so out the way.
Yeah, literally. And when also the during part one where the what was the guy's name that was traveling with Joyce? Yes. Or
Yuri,
no. Was that
well, that's the flight. The what is his name?
Murray?
Murray.
Yeah. Um, when he knocked Yuri out in midair, I was like, "Excuse me, I don't know
I
how
like
to
that
fly a
scene.
plane."
The
That
karate.
part
Yeah, I
kind of
like that
stressed me
scene.
out because I was like, I mean, even with that, they didn't like gain control of the plane and they basically crashed, but I guess they survived. Like that part was a little bit weird to me, but um yeah, that part kind of stressed me out because why would
Hey.
you knock out the only person who knows how to fly a plane? But I guess.
I mean, I guess it was knock him out, or they were going to be put right in jail. So
Right, true. That's a fact.
Yuri was a very annoying character, though. Him and Jason, very annoying all
Yeah,
season.
right.
All right. So I guess we should talk about. We can move on to like key moments, or like your favorite moments. So what are all your favorite moments? Because there's a lot.
Yeah. I talked a little bit about some of like the more emotional moments, and I think that those still were my favorites, or still were some of my favorites, just because of how well they were written. Um, Also, I think that the way that they wrote in this backstory for Henry, I thought that was like very well done. Like how Eleven had thought for pretty much like the whole series that she was the one who like killed all these kids and like all these different things. And I think that the way that they wrote the backstory of her like just trying to figure out what happened and trying to figure out like who Vecna is, I think that that was extremely well done. Um, just like a really good backstory. So definitely shout out to the writers for that. And then if I had to pick like a personal, I don't know if it's like a moment, but just like I really enjoyed the scenes with Dustin in them this season. Like I think that he's just like so smart. Like he was just figuring everything out. Um I don't know. I just really appreciated a lot. Some of my favorite seasons were with Dustin, like when he was like cracking some of the codes, and then um, you know, the thing where they were trying to like figure out like the transportation between the portals with the I think it was like pillowcases or things like that. I thought that that was very cool. Just to watch some of his scenes. And I think that even like from season one, he's grown so much as an actor that he's just I think he's really good. So
I also really like the background story of Vecna and how they did that whole reveal. Um, I did. I didn't like how they did him though. I don't know. I feel like in the last episode, you had the final battle and everything like that, and he's chasing Max, trying to get that. That's why does this whole um, world domination takeover, and then all the portals kind of join together, and
mhm.
everything is destroyed. Um, and I don't know. I feel like he had like the upper hand. I feel like they just kind of took him out cheaply, but I think it also might go into season five. Um, but I just feel like it was cheap because it was like he had like the upper hand for like 2 seconds, and then 11 got that love letter dropped on her from Mike, and then once that happened, it was curtains. She literally just
Yeah, yeah.
folded him up, put him on a tree, and it was curtains for him. So I didn't really like how he went out
I
like that. But
agree.
again, I feel like season five he might come back like stronger, and there might be a little bit more of a power struggle. That's my main complaint. I just didn't think there was that much of a power struggle between them.
Yeah.
Um,
I my one thing I didn't understand though, and like maybe you can explain it, or if anyone in the comments is able to explain it. I don't see any comments, so I hope that um or yeah, feel free to comment, but I also hope that it's not just a loading thing on my end. Um, but
yeah, I think mine is not loading.
what'd you say?
I think mine has just hasn't loaded.
Oh. Um, I guess one thing that just kind of I was a little bit confused about. So the first time that 11 killed Henry, he like kind of disintegrated into a portal. But then she did that again. So it was kind of like, what do we think is gonna happen? Like, of course, I don't know. He said before he died, like, yeah, this is the end of this. And then like she killed him in the exact same way. Um, I don't know. That was something that kind of threw me off because like it was like,
Has she ever contemplated with
same
her
thing,
powers?
same result type of thing. So
I don't think she's putting up her power. So maybe it's kind of like because even now she kind of like just learned how to like more understand her important powers more. Like she knows she can go into like people's kind of subconscious, I guess,
Yeah. Hmm.
or something. So maybe I think for that that might be something where like um in step like in season five she might learn how to like actually like finish him because that might just be something like that might be the extent of her powers that she knows is that hey I'm gonna send you to this unknown realm and you're just gonna have to kick it here.
Yeah. Right. That's funny.
um, what else was I say? My favorite part. I don't know. There was a lot. There was so many things to choose from.
So did you like, I know that they're kind of intertwined, but did you like part one or part two more? You liked
Part
part
one.
one.
The build up was crazy for part one, and again that's why I was disappointed for part two because you have Big V. You find out he's the the OG, the original one with powers, the one that they tested on everything. Papa started all this with him, and then he's like, oh, he tried to control you, whatever. He's trying to get Elle to join him, since she's also has the potential to be that powerful and everything like that. And then uh, he goes to this the upside down. He's banished here, and then he talks about how he learns how to control it. And then he comes back. He's about to um, you know pack Max up. Well, I guess he did pack her up because she's in a coma now.
Yeah.
Um, that's unfortunate. But then again, like he has the upper hand on once 11 shows up, she kind of just beats him down. Like she literally just throws him into some high school bleachers, and then he comes out, and then he kind of like overpowers her for like 5 minutes of the 2.5 hour finale, and then she's like, "Oh, I got a love letter from Mike," and then just
Yeah.
fooled him.
No, it's real. I think that's where we might disagree though, because I really like part two of the season. Definitely my favorite. But I can see like the plot holes and where that might be a little confusing. So I get it. But season two I just think was like stellar. But um I could tell you my least favorite character was, what was his name? Jason, whoever the basketball captain was. He would not
Yeah,
listen or let up for anything. Like, hello, we are trying
that
to save the
scene with
world. Like,
that
step
scene
out
with
of your
Lucas and Max
ego.
was so annoying at the end because he
Yeah.
just literally, and then he had the gun. And then there's, then there's the whole, racism thing. Like you kind of feel that. And it's like, all right, man, you about to annoy me.
Yeah. Like, this isn't just like we're not playing. This isn't play. Like, we're trying to like save the world here. And here you are about to like mess up the entire plan. And then when
It did because then
he crushed the tape, I was like, oh my gosh. This man, if
I thought they
anyone
were
needs
going
to
to do.
go,
I
it's
thought they were about to
him.
go the
Like,
route. I really thought they were going to go the route of like, yeah, he crushed it. Lucas was going to fight him off her, and then once he saw her like starting to rise, he was just going to start singing the song to break her out of it. I thought they were going to
that
do
would
that, but
have
it was
been
like,
so
nope,
funny.
no happy endings for you two. Max is done for temporarily. Um, So that's part disappointing. I definitely thought that was like, oh, he broke it, but they're gonna fix that. They're not gonna let Max die. Max is great. We love Max. And then the writers were just like, that's tough.
Yeah. I think that, yeah, and I don't know exactly who I would have like picked in their place if it was up to me, but they killed like two people who were just like some of my favorite characters, and so I was like very heartbroken. That was like, I feel like it was the two people who deserved it the least. got got.
We only got one good death, and that was the doctor.
What'd you say?
And I'm happy Eleven didn't forgive him. That's the only good death we got was the doctor.
Oh yeah. And it's like,
Oh no, Jason died too. Rest in no peace. Because remember he was like laying there knocked out, and then when the portal opened, it went like right through him.
oh no, I must have missed that part. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I must have like looked away for that part. I didn't see that part. Well, great. I'm not mad at that. What was I gonna say? Oh, the doctor. He was literally just manipulating her till the very end. And I don't know, maybe in the next season, it'll be something that like comes back up. Like, I really hope it's not something that 11, realizes that like maybe he was telling the truth about some aspects or something like that. So I think that'll just be a whole nother emotional struggle for the poor girl to go through. But yeah, I I don't know. But even like once all that was said and done and 11 was driving off, he still like used his last bit of energy to like watch her like drive off. And like you can tell that it was definitely a manipulative relationship and not anything healthy at all. But um somewhere deep down inside, like he did like love her. I don't even want to use that word because I don't think that the two can coexist per se. But he did like somewhat care for her and like was proud of her for getting out of that situation too, once he realized that like he was hopeless as well.
I also didn't like that scene, kind of like the end. Only part that I did like was that she didn't forgive him. He was just sitting there talking to her, and she was like, "Well, all right."
Yeah, just
You
like,
know?
oh,
I,
you
I
have
didn't
fun
like the scene with
here.
the helicopter though. Um,
Right. Yeah.
Cause that sniper was the whole scene with the sniper was just making me mad. Cause
Yeah.
I'm like, honestly, I don't want 11 to get shot, but that sniper was
Yeah.
trash.
It was pretty
He
bad.
let like 30 rounds off and was not hitting
Like you were
anything.
like a
I'm like, all
top
right, man.
military sniper, like missing a man running on
Whatever they're
foot.
paying you,
Like what?
like, whatever they're paying you, you're getting
Yeah.
over.
And even the other doctor that was trying to like help 11 and stuff too. I was like sad to see. Well, I guess we don't know if he died or not. So I thought that everyone, like when stuff started exploding, I thought that everyone in the facility was gone. But then the military guys like came back up and saw 11 driving away. So I guess we don't know for sure if the doctor that was actually trying to help 11 made it out alive or not, but um I'm assuming he's gone. That was a tough. I didn't like that he died either, if that's the case too.
I think he'll probably come back. 'Cause remember, like right before he was talking to them about needing them, and so maybe, depending on how what the timeline is between that point and then the what is it? The whole like upside down expanding thing.
Yeah.
They might see because now like they have the homeless shelter and stuff like that. So a lot of people had to move out because their homes were destroyed and stuff.
Yeah.
So there's probably like a military presence. So if they didn't kill him, they would have to see now that hey, yeah, he's right.
Right. Yeah. All right. Any last thoughts on the series though before we wrap up?
Once again, rest in peace temporarily to Max. We don't know if she's gonna come back or not. Rest in peace to Eddie. Rest in no peace to Jason Carver. You were annoying.
Yeah.
Uh, Rest in no peace to Papa as well. That's all I have to say.
Yeah.
Or
That's
no peace to
that
Papa.
on that. Yeah. Well, all right. Well, we'll go ahead and wrap up the event. Thank you all for listening and tuning in, and for those who are sending comments in the event as well. Definitely appreciate it. Um, as Aunt and I mentioned, we do run a podcast called the Bingeverse. We do put the recordings of these events on to the platform as well. So if you had to hop in the middle or you weren't able to catch the whole thing, go ahead and subscribe to the podcast. If you actually click on my profile, there's a link with all of um, the ways that you can listen, as well as follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and all of our social media platforms as well. So go ahead, click my profile, click on the link, and feel free to tap in with us there too. Um, we will be back next week. We're going to be doing a review on the new Thor movie, which we're really excited about. So it'll be on Tuesday as well at the same time. So feel free to tune into that event as well if any of you are interested in Marvel or Thor fans like us. And um, we hope to see you guys next week. And anything else to add?
No, I just want to. I think my app has been frozen since the beginning, so I can't see like in the comments. But thank you for all the comments. If you did comment, thank you all for attending. However many of you there are, and hope to guys see you in a lot of future events.
Awesome. Well, we'll go ahead and in the event, and we hope to see you guys next week and see you guys engaged with our social media as well. So have a good rest of your night, and thanks for listening.